All right, hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. All right, I have a really cool new device here. This is from Unifi Networks, and this one is their new 5G Max outdoor unit. This is a 5G modem, and it is really designed to be plug and play with your Unifi system. They've dealt with a little bit of like LTE backup, but they never really had a full bore 5G cellular system. And if you watch my channel, I have covered a lot of things about AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile 5G home internet, and I've used them extensively. They are my main internet provider at my house. I actually pay for all of them, and I test out all kind of third-party routers, gateways, antennas, and stuff. And I have not used Unifi as my Wi-Fi network at all, partly because I'd have to basically use them plus another system to work with cellular. So this is maybe the first entrance into that. So let me open this up, show you what it is, and then of course I'm going to do some tests there to see how it performs versus a stock setup. I'll get into SIM cards, how you get access to that as well as we go through the video. So if you want to skip to a specific part, use the chapter feature in YouTube. That will help you find a specific area. Otherwise, stick along. Let me show you through this device. All right, so of note, when I open it up, it does say 5G max performance up to 3.4 gigabits per second downlink. That's theoretical. We're not going to get that. I can go ahead and give you a spoiler alert there. Support for all sub 6 gigahertz bands. That's basically all of the main carriers there. It does not include a millimeter wave, but that's not very common in the US anyway. So basically it's compatible with all carriers. It's carrier unlocked. It does support eSIM capability. And then it also has dual SIM capability. So dual SIM is for failover. It's not for aggregating or bonding two SIMs together. Only use one SIM at a time. And it can be either a physical SIM and an eSIM or two physical SIMs. All right, so here we have it. This is a nice little compact unit. It is aluminum. Backside is plastic on the front. And then what you see here is they do have two different covers for it. This one is not fully weather tight. It just has a little grommet. If you want the full weather tight setup, you have to take this off, put this one on, and that gives you the full, I forget if it's IP67 or whatnot rating there. They include a little mounting bracket template, which has a little cheap bubble level, so it'll help if you're mounting this to a wall. And that's where this guy comes into play. So this slides in here, pops down, and then you have a little set screw that you tighten in. But this is a nice little feature. This is similar. This reminds me of like kind of the waveform antenna setup where you get up, down, left to right adjustability, and this bracket can either go directly into a flat surface like a wall, or it can go, and they include the hose clamps here to go around a pole or a pipe in there. So that's pretty standard. This allows you, this is a directional antenna. And I guess something of note here is Unifi also came out with a 5G Max, but not outdoor. So it's an indoor version. And that one is a smaller unit. Another big thing with it is that it's omnidirectional. So it's going to be not sensitive to the orientation of it, but this one is a directional antenna. So I did not even buy the indoor one because I wanted to go hardcore. I know inside I do not get the best signal, and I really need the directionality to get the best in there. But also of note is this is not a sponsored video. I don't even think Unifi gives you free stuff. Maybe they do if you're bigger than me, but I paid for this. I'm going to test it out. And the only reason I did not get this video out sooner is actually because I learned that this is not a standalone device. Now they say it right there on their page in the FAQs, but I did not realize that this cannot work by itself. That's a big note, because everything else that like the 5G home internet market does, like the Verizon, the T-Mobile, the AT&T, is gateway. It's an all-in-one unit that does your Wi-Fi, it does your cellular connection, it also has Ethernet ports, and it also acts as the router for your network. This is just a modem, basically. But there's some pros to that as well. Okay, so what that means, I had to buy another unified device to get this to work. So I think this Max Outdoor was about $400, which I thought was a pretty good price for a 5G modem setup compared to some other ones I've seen out there. But I had to buy this one, which was about $300 as well. Now, I think I could have bought something probably as cheap as $129 for a cheap gateway and that would have still worked. But I went ahead and bought this one. This is a Wi-Fi 7 router that, has 2.5 gig Ethernet port. So it has, some good capabilities. But again, this one cost $300. So I'm at $700 here for this setup. But this is maybe the start of a Unifi network for myself. So I have this guy, and I will use that to, it should be able to power this. This is power over Ethernet. That's the other reason why I got it, was that it does have PoE output as well. So let me just go into here and pop this back cover off and show you what it looks like. So on the bottom side, if you pop that cover off, you can see a Ethernet port that's in there. And then on the bottom, there's a silicone little cover that has the two SIM card trays that they include the little SIM card tool that you can push out the SIM card and put one in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this is where I'll talk about the SIM card capability. So this is carrier unlocked, so you can use AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile on their webpage, because I'm sure probably a lot of people ask, and it gives you a disclosure that this does not work with T-Mobile home internet. And that is typically true of most third-party gateways, unless you can adjust the IMEI of the device so that it matches what T-Mobile is expecting your device to be. And now I personally think that's also true for Verizon, but most people don't have a Verizon physical SIM card anymore because Verizon went away from that. Their first series of 5G gateways did have a physical SIM that you could transfer, but I don't think now they do. They're all eSIM. So all that means is that you probably need to get a business plan, because I don't think there's a way for us to modify the IMEI on the Unifi. I haven't looked into that. But if you know of a trick for that or have any hints there, please let me know, and I'll look into it as well to see if there's a way to do that. But otherwise, I do have a T-Mobile 5G business line, and so that SIM is a bring your own device one, so it doesn't care what it is. So I can take that, put it in here, and that one should work. I can test out T-Mobile in here pretty easily. You could also use any other data tablet plan that would allow this IMEI. You can most of them have an IMEI checker that you can type in what you have, and then you can see if it's compatible with the plan. But that's an important note on this one, is you got to be careful with what SIM card you get to make sure it's compatible. All right, so this little Dream Router is not super happy because it doesn't have internet here on my desk, but I did directly connect to it with my tablet so I can see it. And then I'm hoping I can just plug this in here. It's plugged into the top port there, which is PoE capable. I already have my SIM card into this 5G Max outdoor unit. So when I do that, this light should come on, which you can see that it is. And then I can go in here to my devices, and hopefully I can see this guy show up here soon. All right, so there we go. It took it about a minute or two for it to show up. I'm going to click tell it to adopt. So now it is adopting this device. So adopting is just where you're taking a new device and adding it to your Unifi system or network, so then you can then include it. So what's really cool about this while it's doing this is this device does not have to be plugged into a WAN port. In fact, it's plugged into a LAN port on this Dream Router. But what's really cool is that it doesn't have to be plugged into this. It can be off anywhere on my network, so long as it has Ethernet back to whatever your main router or gateway is on Unifi. It will treat it as a WAN option for you. So that really opens a lot of flexibility for where you place this. And that actually works really well for me, because I have most of my networking stuff down here in the basement in a closet, but then I have my 5G modems or antennas up on the third floor loft space, or in the attic or outside of that attic. And so I typically have my devices far away. This allows that to be very easy to do, because I can connect them into a switch. I can connect this 5G Max outdoor into a switch that then eventually gets Ethernet back. The only thing you want to do is, of course, make sure you have good Ethernet speeds, or 2.5 gig capable, because these devices, are the 5G networks nowadays, can certainly get over 1 gig. It's not very common, but I definitely don't want my Ethernet to be the limitation, or my ports to be the limitation. I want the cellular to be the limitation. So this guy is connected here. Let's see, I don't think I get signal down here in the basement. I typically get very, very poor Verizon signal. I've never messed with this, but we can go in here and just see what it's doing. Okay, so it says it's updating, but I don't know how it's doing that because I don't have the internet on this device. So maybe it's getting it. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how it is updating because neither of these have the internet, I guess, really right now, unless this one figured out how to connect, but I doubt that. So I've just let it do its thing here for a little while, and then I need to go move this back upstairs so that I can do testing with it where it actually gets signal. Okay, so I did end up plugging a Ethernet in to the Dream router here so that it could get the update, because as I expected, it couldn't get the update without the internet. And it was interesting because this here is your lights of your signal strength, and that's signal for your cellular. So it's saying it has 4, but if you know anything about cellular, just the bars doesn't tell you the full story. So let me go in here and show you what this is now showing me on the screen here. So I got excellent on the Dream Router 7, and it's showing a green light there on that 5G Max Outdoor. If I go into it, it's showing me I have minus 98 dBm for my T-Mobile signal strength, and then no SIM card in 2 and no eSIM. Then you can see IMEI, which I could copy and do something there, but yeah, it's just copies of the clipboard. So that's helpful if you're trying to give it to your ISP. Then you could copy it quickly there, as well as your eSIM EID. And then I can see my IP address there. I can see my MAC address. I see my status is active. I got my APN. This is all automatic, so I have not done anything. And that's one thing I will say about the Unifi stuff. I just plugged this in. I haven't changed any settings at all yet. We'll see what I can do here. It says it's on 5G. I don't see any place where it shows me what bands I'm on, bandwidth I have for them, any of that carrier aggregation. That's all really stuff I'm used to dealing with and adjusting and setting. This feels a little bit like the T-Mobile gateway as far as like, you got 5G, great. Okay, so for the speed test, I have a couple options here. One is I can test it on the Unifi system. This is going to keep my tablet and my Wi-Fi out of the loop of it. But what you can see here is I did just run one, but I think what it's running right now is on WAN 1. So it's actually running through the Ethernet there. So I need to go to WAN 3 here. So WAN 3 must actually be this 5G Max. And I'm not expecting a lot of performance down here. 20 is actually exceeding my expectations by far. So 27, and yeah, this is, I don't think I've ever gotten that type of speed actually down in the basement. What I might do here is just unplug. So this was confusing, is that my WAN 1's also T-Mobile, but my Internet 3 is the WAN 3. That's my cellular for it, even though both are cellular. So this one, you can adjust the failover for it here, and you can do load balancing. So this one is my primary is WAN 1, and then my secondary there is WAN 3. So yeah, it was defaulting to that Ethernet. So let's go back here to a little speed test and just run. Now that we are on just cellular, I just know I'm a clean test here, and see what this does. Then I need to move it up there. I mean, that is really fast speed for down here, considering it's just laying on my desk here. So I'm excited. Let me get this upstairs and see what kind of speed I get up there. All right, so this is booting up here. You can see now that, yes, this is a bit of a mess. This is not how I typically leave it. I got a lot of devices up here, but I'm booting up the Dream. It's booting up the 5G, but I'm going to go ahead, and while that's doing that, I am going to directly connect to this G4AR gateway from T-Mobile, and it has the waveform 4x4 antenna on it in the attic. And then you can see it right there. It's got all full bars. It says excellent signal. So I'm going to connect directly to that and do a speed test and just see where that one's at. So this is the G4AR, and I'll be using the speed test tool here. All right, so we're going to see where this one goes. And so with the waveform, it definitely gets better performance for both download and especially upload. I actually don't have great signal. I get a lot of obstructions of trees, even though I'm about a mile away from the tower. And if I get this stuff outside, it's the best, but I typically have just the one in the antenna. I've started using a ProLink or an Elsys Amplimax 5G outside. because that's a nice outdoor unit that's easy to set up. This one is going to give that one a run for its money. So here you can see about 378, and then it shows 65 for upload. And then you can see it doesn't have the best there for gaming or video conferencing, so it's showing me some jitter performance there. Yeah, so it's showing some high jitter. Let me do another test again just to make sure that we're consistent there with this G4AR. Okay, so pretty consistent. The second result there was a little bit better in both download and upload, or actually I guess a little bit worse than upload, but still pretty good there. So let's switch back over to the Unifi setup and see how that's doing. Now, is there some signal interference with Wi-Fi? Yeah, probably, because some of these do have Wi-Fi on them. So I got multiples on there, but at least it's a fair comparison. They're side by side. And let me just go into now, you can probably see there's the bars of signal. It's still all 4 of them. So telling me what signals I'm on to. So I mean, it just shows it went up from, what was it, minus 98 dBm in the basement to minus 88. So that's not a big improvement. That's where I told you I don't have great signal inside here. I need to get either in the attic or outside. But I don't see any other information other than it saying I'm on 5G. Let me do a speed test on this guy, and then that way I got a comparison down to the basement. Then I'll go and do a speedtest.net app as well. So yeah, it's not showing anything that impressive. So certainly better than the basement, but that's nothing to write home about. Let me go in here and do this test. Yeah, it's not showing much better. Let me go and make sure that I'm on. It says 6, so it must be on 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So we're getting better ping at least. And the jitter is still high though, so that's kind of stuck with my T-Mobile for my jitter. And my speeds are definitely slower than just the G4AR with a waveform. So let me try a couple more things before I give up on it and say that it's slower. Okay, so what I just did is I logged into the web interface hoping to get a little bit more information here on my WAN. All right, so I am not seeing anything even in the web UE that gives me more information. I do get a little bit of signal change there when I poke around with this guy, but I am not seeing any ability to really see how good my signal is. So I mean, I can see here that I can make it worse certainly, and I can try to make it better by aiming at some different directions. Let's see if I can pull down and update this. Okay, so that was a bit disappointing upstairs, but I was actually really impressed with the performance downstairs. Now, as far as the bands go, I did dive in for a while trying to find the band information, because to me that is critical for you to be able to do good testing. As you saw down here, I was getting 4 bars of signal here in the basement as well as up there, and up there I was 2 times the speed, but I know I still have a lot left to go, even compared just to a T-Mobile G4AR with a waveform antenna. So I did look into it. You can shell into the back end of the Unifi devices and get that information. I haven't learned how to do that yet. This is my first time playing with the Unifi stuff, but that is one option. But it's really disappointing to me why they don't just have that in the interface. Perhaps that will be coming with a firmware update. This just got released early this year, perhaps late last year in 2025, like December timeframe. But anyways, that is critical. And then, of course, I do need to get this outdoors. If I look at the weather right now, it is literally 3 degrees. And so I'm not climbing up my icy tower to get this up and outdoors right now, but I will do some more testing with this. I'll try to find out some more information about bands to it. Overall, it was very simple to just plug in and work, but I really like to tinker with this kind of stuff because I know there's a lot of fine tuning that you can do to really improve it. And some things I like about third-party gateways like the Chester Tech Repair stuff that I've covered is I can band lock and switch them, and I can do IMEI changes, so I can use a T-Mobile home internet SIM in there. So there's a lot of benefits to this and a lot of downsides to this. I think it's probably going to grow. I'm glad that more of these 5G modems are going out and supporting more systems, because one of the frustrations with this stuff is that you have to cobble things together to make your system. For me, I have a Modem Wi-Fi system across my property, but then I have multiple 5G modem gateways up there that I use for either bonding service, so I can connect them and have failover through the waveform internet stuff, or I can do things like just load balancing and whatnot across there. So more to come on this. If you have specific questions about this Unifi setup or this 5G Max, do put a comment down below. I do try to read the comments and respond to them when appropriate. So thanks for tuning in, and then stay tuned for more videos. Hit that like button if you like this content, and then also consider subscribing to my channel to see more of me and my stuff that I go out and test. So thanks. We'll see you next time. Now right here are a few more videos that you can click on and you can watch, including things about the waveform antennas I've tested, other third-party gateways, or just other playlists on my channel.